Welcome to Front-End Web Development subject. In this video, we will learn about Unit 3, Topic 5, Form Handling. How do you handle user input? How do you handle form submissions? As you know, in any web development or any mobile applications, forms are the basic interface between users and the server. Form handling is very basic and important feature of any front-end web development. Using forms, we can accept data from the users and then we can handle the data using any server side. Since we are at the client side, how do you receive the data in the form from the user and how do you handle form submissions? Let's look into that. In React, form handling, there are two primary aspects to consider. The first one is how do you take user input and how do you handle form submission. Let's start with first aspect, handling user input. Let me create a component called form handling.js. Create a function form handling. Return something. Don't forget export form handling. Export default so that we can import it defaultly. Now let's create a form in it. So to create a form, let me have a fragment. Within this, let's write the form, create a label. Let me take username and the passwords. First, let us start with one thing, label. Label is something like name, right? Next comes with input tag, input, type equals to text, there, and value is equals to whatever the value you would be passing that. Let me talk about this value later. Let me close this part, right? So how do you take this input? This is very important. So on this, we already looked into this in the event handling on change. On change, let's try to call a function which is an handler, handle input change. Let's write that functionality here. Const handle input change, which receives event, synthetic event, right? Oh, let me make this as an arrow function there. Let's try to create a state to store the data. Use state. Initially, let me keep that as an empty. Store to a state. Const input name, comma set input name. There, whenever on change happens, let's try to pull that into the input name. So to do that, set input name event dot target dot value. Let's try to log it. Input name there, right? So let's try to look into that. After typing the name, let me try there. Let's try to import that component here. Let me name this to form handling. There. Let's call that form handling component. Let's look here. Use state is not defined. It seems we forgot to import use state. Yes. There. There. Let me type something here. KMIT. This is how it has been looking for. So how do you take the user input and how do you handle it? This is how you handle the input. Now imagine we will not have the only single element in the form now, right? We'll be having the multiple elements. Like let me take another one, email. Now you can expand yourself. How do you want to take the input from the user? Is it in the format of a password? Is it in a format of any gender? How do you handle them? How do you handle them? We need to learn, right? Let me restrict myself for this video on taking only one more element like email, right? Going back to the code, let me type one more label. Let me take this as an email type equals to email. Now, do I need to write one more functionality for this, to one more handler? Yes, in fact, but I do not want to call many functionalities like this, many handlers. I wanted to use only one handler for this on submitting this form. So basically, we are trying to learn how do you handle form submissions, right? So let me call upon one functionality called handle input change. So let me keep it simple. Now here in this part, it's not only the one attribute we are trying to get here, or like it's only not the name. It also we are also getting an email here. Let's try to store that in an object format. So initially, it's not an empty one. Let us create an object with key value pair name initially as empty, email initially as empty, right? Let me rename this part. Instead of input name, let me name this as an form data, or else keep it simple, form data. This data can be many data, please. As of now, I'm handling only with the two parts, name and email. So let me rename this to the set form data, form data. There. Let me remove these two parts. Now, what's going wrong here? Oh, there. Let me remove this part as well. Now, try to write something. Whenever the user tries to change this one, I need to handle that input. How do I do that? However, the data which are coming passed to this input type comes to the event, right? Synthetic event. So let's try to take that part. So event dot target, whatever the user types over there, let me try to take to the const one object. Let me name that object as a name, comma, value, right? So set form data, calling this part, set form data. What are the data I would receive here in the format of an object? Try to pass that to the form data. How do I do that? By saying that name colon value. What is this value and what is this name? I need to have an attribute over here, name equals name, to match that part. So this name, whatever the data we are trying to receive, will come and sit into the name here. Whatever the name I have given here, along with this value, will try to come and take to the form data object with name and email. Now, I do not write a separate name for the email. I can use the same name here, right? This is because, or else let me do likewise, email, right? Whatever the name it is, that will come to the name, and the value, whatever we are trying to give here, that comes from event.target.value. That's what I'm trying to put it here, right? So I hope this made sense, everybody. Name is a key which I'm trying to make over here. The value associated with this target, coming to the value over here, and trying to put that into the form data. This time we may have many times we may get in submissions, right? We should not override the form data value. So to do that, let's try to use an destructuring concept. I mean spread operator form data. So it should append to the already available data, right? So this is a basic requirement. Now, where is in submit button then? So let's try to create a submit button, submit. Let's try it. Type equals submit. There. So this part we need to maintain. So on submit, this one completely, we need to write an handler for this submit. So in the opening of a form, try to write on submit is an event. Let me handle the submit by handle submit. Let's write the functionality for this. Const handle submit, right? Let me write using arrow function event. This is a part, please. Now it's up to you. How do you want to perform your actions here? Do you want that data to be sent to the database, or do you want to store that into the JSON? Any other kind of an action you would like to write, please write within this. Here you can perform actions like submitting the form data to the server. Now I do not want to connect to the server. Let me try to log it, whatever the data I have come with now. So form data, let me keep it simple. Form submitted, one form submitted. Alongside, let me try to also show you the form data, whatever I have got it. So this form data is coming from the state. I hope this made sense, everybody. This is the second part of our important thing, that is called another aspect, that is handling form submission. So let's try to run this code. Here I have a submit button. Let's try to, since we are logging it, let me open the console as well. Here, as of now, this is an older part, please. So let me type something here, KMIT, some email ID, giving my email ID here, submit. You might have noticed that that was gone here, right? It appeared only for the couple of seconds, right? So how do I do that then? So I should not do I should not submit by it itself, right? I should stop it itself. I mean, submitting the data. Like there is something like event dot prevent default, which is basically you can prevent the form submission by calling the event dot prevent default. This is because basic behavior of any form is to submit uh, on any kind of an form, place. So we should stop this one. This method will stop the default behavior of the form submission. To do that, let me go back here in the handle submit. Let me try to write that part, please. So how do I do that? Event dot prevent default. Prevent default. ULT. It should pop up. Yes, right. Let's go back, clear every part. Let me give some more time. Okay, right? Do you see that? Did not submitted. by default, it waited for our action to be done, right? Now, instead of logging it here, you can take this data to your wherever you would like to take into the server, maybe into the database. It's all depend upon your requirement now. This is how you handle the forms in React. That is all for this video. See you in the next class.